Hello friends, welcome to the current affairs analysis for 29th of February 2020. So the third quarter GDP in the current financial year has slowed down to 4.7% as per the estimates by the National Statistical Office. So in the financial year 2019-20, we have already witnessed the slowing down of GDP growth. So in the first quarter, the GDP growth is estimated to be 5.6%. In the second quarter, it was 5.1%. And now in the third quarter, it has been even lower at 4.7%. So this has been an 11-year low GDP in that India has witnessed. So according to government, in this particular quarter, the growth has actually bottomed out. So according to the government, from now onwards, the growth will only revive, but that remains to be seen. So the overall estimate for the entire year has been kept at 5%, it presents a very dismal picture of Indian economy, and it shows that the recession is not yet over, because we have to watch out for the economic data for the fourth quarter, and we have then to compare with the first quarter, second quarter and third quarter data to know whether there is a revival in the economy or not. In another important news, the World Health Organization has raised the global risk level of coronavirus to very high. What it effectively means is that it is very close to be declared a pandemic. And the moment it is declared a pandemic, that means that each and every person on this planet is likely to be affected or is vulnerable to this particular infection. And this has been done because many new countries have reported their first cases, which is the first requirement for the certification of global spread of this particular disease. And those countries are Nigeria, Estonia, Denmark, Netherlands, Lithuania, and Mexico. So countries across all these continents have reported their first cases, and now Antarctica remains the only continent where no such case has been found. But that continent doesn't count because it is uninhabited continent. So there are all the 6 continents in the world have now coronavirus cases, and countries other than China now account for about 3/4 of new infections. So if there are 100 new infections, out of them only 25 infections are in China and 75 infections are in the rest of the world. So countries other than China are accounting for about 3/4 of the new infections. So that is one fit ground for declaring this particular virus as a pandemic. Because of the coronavirus fear and slowing down of economies, the Sensex, that is the sensitive index of the Bombay Stock Exchange, and various global markets have suffered a crash yesterday. So in India, Sensex is the benchmark stock market index, and it has posted its second biggest one-day fall in absolute terms. And this epidemic could push some of the world's biggest economies into recession. So you can see that in India, all these markets have suffered a loss. In India, the BSE Sensex has fallen by minus 3.64%, Dow Jones of US, the Nikkei of Japan, the Hang Seng of Hong Kong, the FTSE index of UK, the CAC index of France, the DAX index of Germany, and the SSE composite index of China. All of these has suffered a fall. That means that the investors are exiting the markets, the emerging economies, because they are selling their shares in high numbers and they are moving to the US treasuries or other assets like gold, where they can invest and where their investment can be safe and secure. So this is a panic selling, and all these markets are likely to be adversely affected by this. Also, as a consequence of various foreign fund outflows and various investors exiting the Indian market, the rupee has dived 63 paisa against the dollar. So this again is a worrisome development. 3 years after setting a cap on the prices of cardiac stents, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority has exempted a particular device from price control. So in the year 2017, first of all, let us understand what is NPPA. It is the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, which decides the prices of pharmaceutical products, including medical devices and medicines. It issues a drug price control order which contains the rules which have to be implemented by the pharmaceutical industry, and it also maintains a national list of essential medicines under which various medicines are listed whose prices has been controlled by the government. So the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority had slashed the pricing of stents by up to 85% in the year 2017. So for example, if a stent used to cost 1 lakh rupees, so after their prices were slashed by 85%, the stents now costed around 15,000 rupees per stent. So for the first time, an exception has been created for a particular company called Merrill for its device which is called MERES 100. So Merrill had approached the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority for exemption under a provision in which if a particular device establishes significant therapeutic advantage and increased efficiency, so it is a fit ground for exemption of that particular device from the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. But there are concerns on this particular order because the All India Drug Action Network had last year raised concerns related to the safety of this particular product, saying that the only data submitted by Merrill is limited to a small, non-randomized single-arm trial, which is inadequate to prove safety. So Merrill had claimed that its product is totally safe and it has certain significant therapeutic advantages. However, the All India Drug Action Network has said that the product is not very safe. That's why this decision came under criticism. The United States has been invited by Pakistan to invest in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So CPEC or China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is an economic corridor that connects China and Pakistan, and it is a part of the Belt and Road Initiative of China. India has always been opposing this particular project because it runs through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and India considers Pakistan occupied Kashmir as a disputed territory. Therefore, India has always considered China-Pakistan Economic Corridor as a violation of its sovereignty. And now, since Pakistan is running into debts or Pakistan's economy is crumbling, it has invited United States of America to join this CPEC, whose total estimated cost is $60 billion, to invest in this particular infrastructure project. But US has its own concerns because US claims that there is no transparency in the funding of CPEC, and there are various firms which have been blacklisted by the World Bank and they have got contracts under the project. So US is also not very willing. India has already objected to the CPEC as it is being laid through Pakistan occupied Kashmir. In another worrisome development for Indian economic scenario, for the total fiscal target, which was expected to be from April 2019 to March 2020, till the month of January, that is in the first 10 months, the fiscal deficit target has already touched 128.5% of the budget estimate. That means that the fiscal deficit that we had set for ourselves for this particular period has already been exceeded a way more than 100% by the month of January in the first 10 months. However, on another hand, the core sector has witnessed a 2.2% growth in January, and the core sector includes 8 industries that have the highest weightage in the index of industrial production. And those 8 core industries are crude oil, refinery, coal, natural gas, steel, electricity, cement, and fertilizer. So these 8 core sector industries contribute around 41% of the total index of industrial production. And in this particular month, the core sector has witnessed a revival. And this is because of expansion in the production of coal, refinery products, and electricity. So this is a mixed bag for economy. As the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said, that the third quarter growth, which has been estimated at 4.7%, is actually the bottoming out of the Indian economy. And from now onwards, that is from the fourth quarter of the financial year 2019-2020, growth is likely to revive because all other indicators are pointing towards the same. And there are various measures that the finance minister cited for this. First was because of various infrastructure stimulus that has been announced in the union budget. Second is the cut in the corporate tax rate that the government has announced. So, and third is the reduction in the global crude oil prices, which has reduced the Indian outflow of dollar. So let us see an MCQ. What is the fiscal deficit target set by the union government in budget 2020-21? So in the union budget that was presented on 1st of February 2020, the fiscal deficit target has been set at 3.5%. So in this particular year, the fiscal deficit was 3.3%, but it has been increased to 3.8%. So for the year 2019-20, fiscal deficit was earlier estimated to be 3.3%, but later on, due to economic slowdown, it was advised that government should spend more even if its fiscal deficit target is revised. So the government revised its fiscal deficit target to 3.8%. And fiscal deficit is the total difference between the expenditure and revenue of the government. So thank you everyone. This has been the news analysis for 29th of February 2020.